Hi guys, I'm Deshawnee Sanders and I'm here to do my presentation for Mini Unit 1. This unit is for 11th and 12th grade students taking the class Survey of African American Writing, and I'll be teaching my mini unit on the theme, the Black Experience, and I'll be using Richard Wright's novel Native Son to do so. And this book is about a young black boy named Bigger Thomas who lives in Chicago in the 1930s. And he gets a job with a wealthy white family, and he accidentally kills their daughter. And although it was not on purpose, Bigger was hyper aware of the way it would look as a black boy killing a white girl. So of course he panicked, and he covered his tracks the best way that he knew how, but ultimately he did get caught and he was arrested and tried and imprisoned. And so I think the theme of the Black experience in America is a very important one to discuss with students, especially 11th and 12th grade students, since racial tensions in America have been pretty high, and I don't think that they're going to change anytime soon. So not only does the novel say some important things about race, Wright's use of literary elements such as point of view, settings, flashback, and code switching language are a good example for young writers wanting to speak to a particular audience or promote an agenda. So the standards that I'm going to be using toward this mini unit are as follows. It's a reading literature standard, that's the first one, and it's RL.11-12.3. Analyze the impact of the author's choices regarding how to develop and relate elements of a story or drama. Example, where a story is set, how the action is ordered, how the characters are introduced and developed. The next standard is a reading informational text standard, and it's RI.11-12.1. Cite strong and thorough contextual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, including determining where the text leaves matters uncertain. The third standard is a writing standard, and it's W.11-12.4. Produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, organization, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. The next standard is a writing standard, and it's W.11-12.5. Develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revising, editing, rewriting, or trying a new approach, focusing on addressing what is most significant for a specific purpose and audience. And then the last and final standard is also a writing standard. It's W.11-12.9. Draw evidence from literary or informational text to support analysis, reflection, and research. So the purpose of Wright's novel is to show white people what it's like to be a person of color in America, why we think the way we think, why we act the way that we act. And the literary analysis should highlight the ways he does this effectively by using the literary elements such as point of view, setting, flashbacks, imagery, and then code switching language. So for my lesson plan, I want to go ahead and get into, So my literary analysis writing prompt. So basically, after we have completed the mini unit, the class is going to write a 3 to 5 page paper, a literary analysis on the following writing prompt. Richard Wright's novel, Native Son, is ultimately about the Black experience in America. Write a literary analysis discussing if you think Wright's novel did its job in helping white people better understand the internal and external struggle of Black people in America. What do you think of this idea of double consciousness that Wright presents to us? Is it helpful for people of color to navigate the world through a lens of double consciousness? So that is going to be the writing prompt for the class once we finish up the mini unit. Okay, give me 1 second. My screen timed out. Okay. So, as far as the lesson plan goes, I want to get to the objectives. So the lesson objectives, procedures, and assessments. For the first lesson objective that I would have for this lesson would be the students will recognize code switching. The procedure, the student will recall times where they personally code switched, or they can get an example out of the book where Bigger or any of the other characters code switched. And so the materials would be the book if needed. If not, they'll just use their brains from personal experience. The evaluation and assessment will be the student will write about why these situations call for code switching. The second learning objective is the student will identify what inferences the text is making about people of color. The teacher will provide passages that can be left open for interpretation, and the materials will be the paper that the passages are typed on. And then the evaluation and assessment will be the students will discuss their analysis aloud as a class. And then the last learning objective is the students will indicate who is the narrator and why is their point of view effective. The procedures is the teacher will let the students draw out of a hat to select the group's point of view that they have to write in. The materials are going to be paper, pencil, and then the novel Native Son. The evaluation and assessment is going to be the students will, in groups, rewrite a scene from the book in a different point of view. And so the way that these learning objectives relate back to the standards, so the standards that are going to be used in the lesson, the first learning objective, students will briefly write about a code switching experience or one from the story, and that meets standard W.11-12.4. And that standard is to produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, organization, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. So with them rewriting, or not rewriting, but writing about a personal experience or something from the book where Bigger code switched, that will be able to cover that standard, that writing standard. So the second learning objective is students will use consensus decision making as we critically discuss the passages. They will determine what they think alone, and then they'll partner up with one person, and then they'll discuss their analysis together and see if they agree or disagree, and then we'll discuss them as a class. And I got this idea from Read, Write, Think, and this activity covers standards R1 11-12.1, and it also covers the standard W.11-12.9, and that standard is cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, including determining where the text leaves matters uncertain. So that activity will be able to cover a reading informational text standard. And then the last learning objective, students will get into groups and rewrite the scene from where Bigger suffocates Mary, and they're going to write it from a different point of view. So it is originally written in third person point of view, and so we get to see the impact of the way that the story plays out and the author's choice of using third person narrative that way. but I would like for them to rewrite it in a different point of view, and that way we will be able to see the way that the story changes with the different points of views, to see if we get more information, if it adds to the story, if the impact changes based on the different types of point of view, and that way they'll be able to see which point of view works and what's more effective and what's not effective, that adds to the story and moves the story forward. So those are the learning objectives, and that's how I would apply them to the standards. So that's all that I have. So thank you for watching my video. Goodbye.